What's going on, guys? Today I'm going to be talking about the morning gap strategy. This is a very nice strategy for beginners. It also works for someone that has a lot of trading experience too. One of my most successful strategies to date, and it's one of the simplest. So first thing we're going to do, guys, is just go through the setup, go through what it takes to identify the opportunity, and then we'll go through the trade step by step by step. So please watch to the end of the video. You're going to get everything broken down for you. By the end of this video, you'll be able to go out and do your own morning gap strategies with a high level of confidence. All right, so let's get right into it. We're looking at this diagram right here, and the black line that I drew, I know it's not straight, it's very squiggly, but it represents the opening of the market. So 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, market opens, and then this is what happens here. So the first thing that we want to identify in the morning gap strategy setup is the gap down overnight. So typically this red line up here might be where we ended the day, the previous day, and then overnight we gap down here. This gap is anywhere from between 5% and 50% drop. I know you're probably saying, well, 50%, that's a ridiculous drop in price, but it does happen. You're more commonly going to see between 5 and 7% drop. You probably could get away with anywhere from 3 to 5% as well. But we just want to look for stocks that drop significantly overnight and that may have become undervalued in the post-market yesterday and the pre-market this morning, and they gap down a significant amount. So guys, the next thing that we want to look for in the morning gap strategy is momentum out of the gate. So the only thing that changes a stock's price is buyer or seller pressure. So if more people want to sell the stock, then buy it, then the stock goes down. And if more people are trying to buy the stock than sell it, it goes up. So immediately we want to make sure that we confirm that there's buyer pressure there by seeing the first candle of the day be a nice green candle that cuts significantly into the gap that we created from market close yesterday to market open today. So that green candle is your first indication that, hey, we might be seeing some recovery this morning. All right, so now I'm gonna use black just as the line, so it's not all green. But after we have that first green candle or first few green candles, anything to show us that we have buyer pressure and momentum in the upper direction in the first few minutes of the day, there's likely gonna be a bit of consolidation or sell-off. Right, so that's the next step, is consolidation or sell-off. When I say consolidation, I just mean the price pretty much staying stagnant for a few minutes to maybe 10, 15 minutes max. And then sell-off meaning the potential of the stock to trace back a little bit from where it came from. Either way, we want to make sure we don't dip below the opening price here. Any drop below that, and then we probably just had a dead cat bounce, and we're going to see some more red to come. But as long as we hold that line and we make a higher low, that's the next thing we're looking for, is this higher low right here. And that's going to tell us that, hey, the stock is trying to, continue having some buyer pressure. Buyer pressure is essential in the recovery of the stock, and being able to form a higher low than we formed at the beginning of the day shows us that we're actually starting to push back up into the, recovery territory. And then, hey, you guessed it, the next step after that is a higher high. All right, so it's really just looking at the pattern here. Green candle, higher low, higher high. That's the first 3 things that you need to identify in the morning gap strategy setup. After that, guys, you should be good to enter your position. So after we break through this resistance, so the resistance that we've established, after that first green candle of the day, after we break through that resistance, we're going to retarget entry right around that, the new support. So broken resistances become new supports. And after we make our higher high right here, we're looking for a bounce on the new support, and that's where we're going to plan our position. So I have our entry point right here, and then there's no exact science to actually locking this in. A lot of people say, well, when do you sell? When do you lock in your profits on a morning gap strategy? A lot of times there's a potential historical resistance, maybe a key level that was established throughout the week that you can extrapolate from another day and then draw that in. Whatever it may be, you're going to want to lock this in. Maybe there's a couple different potential levels, and I'm sorry this is messy, but it's just how it goes. Maybe there's a couple potential levels that are being extrapolated from days in the past that you can carry forward into this day. And then as the stock approaches those key levels on its way to recovery, you can look for potential reversal signs at those key levels. And guys, we always want to lock in these profits on the morning gap strategy pretty fast. I'd say between 10 and 30 minutes, with the max being about 60 minutes, because, on a day where we're opening more than 5% red, there's a good chance that we're going to see more red. And the morning gap strategy really is only a short-term, very quick strategy to potentially make 2 to 3% on the recovery before another potential dive. Could it continue recovering all the way back to the previous close and beyond? Absolutely. And if that's something that you're willing to risk, in the moment, then sure, that's a great strategy to continue trying to hold that and let the winner run. But typically, guys, I do see 2 to 3% as being a very realistic target for a 5 to 7% drop and then morning gap strategy setup. But either way, as we look to lock this in, we're looking for historical resistance. And, you can either just send it and take your profits, or you can look for signs of a reversal. Obviously, you won't be able to predict a reversal until after it happens, which will cut into your profit margin just a little bit. But it is always nice to have some confirmation that maybe the stock might be starting to turn around. So some signs of a reversal here, guys, are head and shoulders pattern. I have a whole nother video on that. Potentially lower lows and lower highs after we hit a potential past historical resistance. Anything like that, anything where we're seeing, excessively red candles, large red candles that are, maybe 3 red candles in a row. Those are all signs of a reversal and potentially signs that we should get out of our position. I want to go over another case where this is another strategy, but on the opposite side. So a lot of times, guys, the stock will gap up overnight. So in this case, we're also looking for 5 to 50%, but on the way up, it's a little bit different because a lot of times stocks will establish momentum in the pre-market and that momentum will sustain throughout the day. It's even more important on the gap upside to establish that seller pressure right away throughout the first candle of the day. You want to make sure it's a nice, hefty, hardy red candle right there for you to confirm that sellers are coming into the market. After you have that red candle, it's the same exact setup, just everything is mirrored as the gap down strategy. So we want to make sure that we make a lower high here and then a lower low, and then you can feel free to enter your position once we approach the potential resistance right here. So just like we talked about it on the opening downside, we're looking for that first candle support to be turned into a resistance, bounce off that resistance, and then enter our position there. Same thing goes, guys, on the lock-in side. We want to look for 2 to 3% with a potential historical resistance, right? And those are going to vary on a case-by-case basis. I can't tell you definitively whether or not there will be a key level, but if there is, you might want to consider locking that in at the key level. Obviously, this is a short position, so you're either opening up a put option and closing the put option, or you're selling the stock to open and buying back to close the position, making money as the stock is falling. Either way, guys, this is a great opportunity to make money when something gaps up or down. So there are a lot of uncertainties in the market, but one thing you can be certain of is what has happened overnight. And you can use that information to inform decisions the day of if you know how to identify that setup. So on the upside, if we gap up, what we're looking for is a nice thick red candle followed by a lower high, followed by a lower low, rejection by the bottom of that candle there, and then potentially selling off even more, opening that short position. On the buyer side, we're looking for a gap down, a potential nice green candle showing that there's buyers there ready to buy. We're going to capture that momentum, higher low, higher high, and then bounce off the new support that was a resistance formed by the first red candle. I know this might be a little bit confusing for you guys, but feel free to rewatch the video, go through all these examples again. Again, guys, this is one of my most high percentage and my students' most high percentage strategy because it's so simple. Right? You don't need to look at all these indicators, the VWAP, the moving average, anything like that. It's all price action. And when it comes down to trading, price action is the most important indicator of all. It's not even an indicator, really. You just look at what's happening on the page and then you make your decisions based on that. And this is a great way to take advantage of that. So guys, I really encourage you, if you have questions on this, please DM me on Instagram. I'm at Ben Zogby. Cam, can you toss it right there for him? If you got any value out of this video, please toss it a thumbs up for the algorithm so that other people just like you can see it. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm dropping videos like this 2 to 3 times a week. And yeah, hopefully see you in the next video, guys.